Hello, hola. Welcome back to Witches of the Moon. I'm the Humble Apprentice. I'm your Friday host. This is Season 13, Week 5. And this week we will talk about the Grimoire, or Book of Shadows. Is it important? Do we use one? Okay, so I think it is very traditional to have a Book of Shadows, but nowadays I guess you're not limited to a physical Book of Shadows. You can have one on, on your computer, on your laptop, on your tablet. I really love making my own inks and writing. The physical act of putting down on paper my experience is like, it's magical. I love it. It has a really good energy and it has a physical tangible connection that just makes it really pleasurable for me. I find a great deal of pleasure in writing and using time, putting in the time to create the pages that go into my Book of Shadows. I actually took a professional photo album, the one with studs, and I took it apart and I covered it with fabric and I made my own Book of Shadows that way. I made it so that I could change and put in and remove pages as I went, because I think that it's important to have something that you change, because the order of importance of something might change during the years that you have it. Now I've made a really thick one, or added very deep studs so that I can have lots and lots of pages. And the paper that I use is a thick art cardboard that is acid free, so that it lasts, it lasts a long time. Is it important to me? Yes, it is very important to me. Do I write in it consistently and all the time? No. I sometimes, when you're doing magic, it's not always practical to have this big Book of Shadows on your altar or on, wherever it is that you're doing it. I mean, I go out into the woods and I gather herbs and I do magic, not just at home, So I really love carrying around my composition books. The graph paper. The graph paper is really easy to draw different, like when you're making a sigil, when you're drawing sigils, it's great for that. And then what you can do is take whatever you used, as long as you have it written down, you can transfer it to your Book of Shadows. And I could, create a pocket and put some of these pages directly into the Book of Shadows. Like, for instance, if I don't have time to, go and use my handmade ink to pen my page for the Book of Shadows. But what's the most important thing is to jot down with as much detail the information from your oil that you created, and when you used it and what effect it had. Did it have an effect? The potions that you made, the brews that you brewed, the spells that you cast, the rituals, what components did you use? Did you make your own incense? Did you use hand or pre-made incense that you bought? I mean, I love this incense. This is Ganesha road opener. So you don't have to make your incense, but did you? I mean, were you trying out road opening incense? Did it work? What day of the week did you do your ritual? What time of the day did you do your ritual? Writing down all the details with as much focus on, the timing, the elements that you use, the crystals that you use, the words that you spoke. Did you sing? Did you draw down the moon? What did you do during your spell? What did you do during your ritual? And ultimately, what type of effect did it have? What happened? Did it actually come to pass? So did it work? And if it didn't work, what happened? And going back to the information that you wrote down, you could see maybe the timing. Was it the waning moon? Was it the waxing moon? Was it the crescent? What stage of fullness was the moon? Were there any planetary alignments that were influencing, us directly, like there have been in recent days? Was there an eclipse? Did you do a ritual during the eclipse? How did you feel during the planetary alignment? How have the retrogrades affected you? What's happening with the planets, where they're actually at, affects me, but it depends on where they're aligning, on what other planets are aligning with them. Also, in the herbal part of my grimoire, I have the dates and times when it is when plants are blooming, when their fruits are ready to be picked and harvested, when I can gather the wild sage, and I'm talking about not the white sage, I'm talking about Artemisia, which is similar to sage, the white sage, but it's closer to mugwort and wormwood, and that's what grows here, and that's what I use as a smudge. Also, when the trees are growing and it's easy to gather wood for wands and staffs, and when it's too far along in the season, when they are no longer feeding their leaves and when they're starting to feed their roots, in which case then it's time to harvest plants that are the plants that we use. The root part is where all of the energy is and the medicine is, or the most potent part of the plant that we can use is. So all of those, it's really good to write them down, because then when you have a question, when you can't think off the top of your head, you just go to your grimoire and you find out, when do I harvest valerian, or when is it a good time to gather the elderflowers, white flowers, having a picture or a drawing of the flower that you need to gather, and what time is a good time to gather it is very helpful. Also, adding your own correspondences, adding your own experience with a plant. If you used a plant for tea, how did it taste? How did it feel? Like, I'm not talking about wild plants, I'm talking about the herbs that you grow, or herbs that you buy, and you make a tea and you drink it. You can also jot that down. And did you have any dreams? Did it make you feel relaxed, or did it give you energy and fill you with intention and movement? It's like the difference between chamomile that you can take before you go to bed, or like green tea that you take in the morning. What type of energy does the green tea give you? Does it allow you to focus? Or is it like strong caffeine and you get all jittery and it super affects your body, your heart, your nervous system? Any tincture that you make, it's great to have the recipe, because then you can recreate it. You could say, look, in 1 cup of vodka, I put in 2 handfuls of oregano and 1 handful of yarrow. I let it sit for 3 months, and I shook it every day, or 3 weeks and I shook it every day, and then I decanted it into a dropper and I used it when I had a cut, and it helped me heal twice as fast. So you don't just write the recipe, but you also write the effect that you had, that the tincture or salve or whatever it is that you made, the effect that it had on you. Or if you just use it as aromatherapy, and like, for instance, if you use plants that you're not going to consume, that you're just using them for the magical effect, and you make, for example, like a money oil. How did it smell when you rubbed it between your fingers? When you added it to the Grimoire bag, did it feel like it did feed the energy of the Grimoire bag? When you anointed the candle, what was the outcome? If you use roses, and used roses in a love oil, and then one day you decide that you're going to also add peonies, how did that addition change? Did it add energy to the oil? Did you feel, was there a greater effect? Was it a lesser effect? Was it less about passion and more about intimacy? How did it change the energy and the outcome when you use the oil? Crystals. Oh my gosh, there are so many crystals. But I think the ones that you use more often are the ones that I write down, because those are the ones that I have the most physical experiences with. So your meditation with a crystal, you can definitely add the correspondences that you learn about, right? You read about. But also sit with a crystal and just hold it between your hands and put all your energy and intention straight into the crystal, and feel how it vibrates between your hands, and see which one of your energy centers lights up or feels energized when you're thinking, when you're working with a crystal. And write that down. How the crystal feels to you might be completely different from how the crystal felt to the person that wrote the book that you read, or how the person who wrote the blog that you read the correspondences with, or about that particular crystal. And how do you use the crystals? Do you use them only to meditate? Do you use them for healing? Do you use them for Reiki? Do you use them in your rituals? Do you use them in your spells? Do you put them around candles? How have you used the crystal in your practice? So not just what you've read about and what you've heard about a certain crystal, but how it feels to you and how you have experienced the energy of the crystal in your practice. And also just things that happen to you. Like I went out one day and I was walking and I found an antler, and I immediately thought about Cernunnos and how he brought that, and that was a gift to me. So that's definitely something that goes in your Book of Shadows. The moments in life when you feel connected to your deities and your spirit guides. A particular tarot spread that you read or was read for you. It had meaning. It resonated. It felt true. It rang a chord in you. Like, record those things, because that's the path you're walking. That's how you're learning. And in the future, when you read back on what steps you were taking, you can see your growth, and you can see how each element helped influence your path. A Book of Shadows is important. I think it truly is very important to keep a record of your progress along your path, and to see what things you may not want to repeat. If they didn't work, or if you want to try to change it and see if you can bring about the outcome that you were looking for the first time. You don't give up on something just the first time that you try it. You can keep trying it at a different time, changing maybe the day that you work with, or the deity that you work with, or the elements that you use for the spell, transforming it, tweaking it until it brings about the change that you're looking for. I think it's a great way to remember what is important to you and what was important, and what helped you along the path. Thank you for watching. I'm the Humble Apprentice, and this is Witches of the Moon. Have a great weekend, have a great evening, and blessed be.